Hello and welcome to our brand new show, Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison LaGrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. The European Union agrees to a fresh round of sanctions against Russia to keep up the pressure in the backdrop of peace talks. The latest sanctions include a ban on Russian aluminium imports. Israeli army files charges against 5 reservist soldiers for abusing and injuring a Palestinian detainee held in a detention facility in July last year. The African Union condemns non-stop war crimes in Sudan while expressing deep concerns over the continued escalation of the conflict between the warring military forces. Tech giant Google pays over $340 million to Italy to settle a probe into alleged unpaid taxes between 2015 and 2019. And Pakistan plays the Champions Trophy opening game against New Zealand in Karachi. This as the country hosts its first international cricket event in nearly 3 decades. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from Southeast Asia, where an aggressive confrontation between China and the Philippines continues. In the latest, a Chinese helicopter came dangerously close to hitting a Filipino aircraft. This incident has ratcheted up the tensions between the two countries. Footage released by the Philippine Coast Guard is showing a Chinese Navy helicopter flying close to a Filipino aircraft in a disputed section of the South China Sea. Manila said that the Chinese helicopter flew just 3 meters or less than 10 feet from its aircraft. The mid-air standoff occurred over the hotly contested Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea, which is under Beijing's effective control since 2012. Now, during the mid-air standoff, the Filipino side warned the Chinese that their aircraft was flying too close, but the Chinese helicopter continued to hover with dangerous maneuvers despite repeated warnings.
Military helicopter. This is Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources of the Philippine government. Cessna Caravan 228B Romeo Papa 1077, conducting a lawful maritime patrol within the exclusive economic zone. You are flying too close. You are very dangerous and endangers the lives of our crew and passengers. Keep away and distance of your aircraft from us. You are violating the safety standards set by the FAA and ICAO.
Well, according to the pilot, there were 2 instances that the Philippine Navy helicopter did a dangerous flight maneuver. The first one, it came close at a distance of only 3 meters, less than 10 feet. So that's very dangerous. As you saw from the video that we released, the Philippine Navy helicopter hovered above the port side of the aircraft.
In a statement, the Philippines opted its standard practice of referring to the South China Sea as the West Philippine Sea and said that Manila is committed to protect its sovereignty. Following the incident, Beijing accused the Philippines of spreading false narratives and repeated its internationally denounced claims in the South China Sea. Beijing's maritime belligerence over the South China Sea through maneuvers by air or sea is not new. But what makes this particular standoff critical is that Manila's plane was not carrying typical armed personnel who usually patrol the area. The Filipino side was flying journalists in this plane in an attempt to highlight Beijing's maritime belligerence. The journalists witnessed the tense mid-air standoff between the Filipino and Chinese aircraft, which reportedly lasted 30 minutes. The incident continued to show Beijing's erroneous assertiveness over the South China Sea. The mid-air standoff over Scarborough Shoal is the second major military incident in the region in the last few days. On the 11th of February, Australia said that a Chinese jet released flares in the South China Sea within 30 meters of its aircraft. While no personnel were injured in the incident, Canberra lodged diplomatic protest with Beijing in a moment of tense bilateral strain. The dangerous game of proximity between Manila and Beijing is playing out not just on the waters, but in the skies as well. The world watches closely if these encounters will remain just warnings, or will they escalate into something far more dangerous? And shifting from China's actions to its ally North Korea, Pyongyang has grown closer to Moscow in the last few years. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un have even signed a strategic agreement where they have pledged to defend each other, and North Korea is already doing its part. Pyongyang has already deployed over 3,000 troops in Ukraine. However, Kim Jong-un's troops have been facing setbacks. While many have been killed on the battlefield, several have also been captured. Most recently, Ukrainian troops destroyed a North Korean self-propelled howitzer, the N18G Costa Rica howitzer, and this happened in eastern Ukraine, where North Korean troops have been fighting alongside Russian forces. The strike on the North Korean artillery unit was carried out by a Ukrainian drone team. The Costa Rica howitzer is a self-propelled artillery system made by North Korea. It was inducted in the year 1978 and can hit targets at a range of 40 to 50 kilometers. The howitzer has a 170 millimeter caliber turret and can fire between 1 to 2 rounds every 5 minutes. The Costa Rica is also operated by North Korea's allies, Russia and Iran. Ukrainian forces first reported sighting the North Korean artillery systems in the battlefield in October last year. But this is the first time that they were able to seek and destroy Kim Jong-un's artillery unit. As North Korea and Russian troops carried out joint attacks, Ukrainian troops are bolstering their defenses in the east.
Judging from the latest talks, I cannot tell you that there is a hope for it to be solved politically. I can't tell you so. In my opinion, if it is solved, then fine, but we anyway must be preparing, because the enemy is mean wily. We must build fortifications. We must prepare that the enemy might continue. We cannot be certain that one day, for example, tomorrow morning, it will be over. Defensive structures have always been a part of good defense from the enemy. In order to stop the enemy, we need fortifications we are building. You must understand that if there are no fortifications, people cannot keep their positions. They retreat and have no place to hide from the shelling and FPV drones.
However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he opposes any peace deal that does not include the participation of Ukraine. Zelensky expressed concerns about Trump's fast-paced approach to a peace deal. However, Trump shot back at Zelensky and blamed Ukraine for prolonging the war.
The first step of a long and difficult journey, but an important one. And President Trump is committed to bringing an end to this conflict, and as he said when he campaigned for president. And he wants it to end in a way that's fair. He wants it to end in a way that's sustainable and enduring, not that leads to another conflict in 2 to 3 years. That's not going to be easy to achieve.
As the United States moves ahead with the peace deal with Russia, Ukraine alleges that it is being sidelined in the talks, and how their fight against Russia to save Europe has gone in vain. For now, Ukrainian troops are celebrating the success against North Korean troops, but it remains to be seen just how fast Trump wants the war to end, and whether he is willing to cater to Zelensky's demands. And shifting focus to the U.S. President Donald Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. The Trump administration is now shipping off deportees to third countries, apart from flying out illegal immigrants directly from the U.S. to their countries of origin. In the latest, the Central American nation of Costa Rica has agreed to serve as a transit point for the deportees from the U.S. This also includes illegal immigrants from India and parts of Central Asia. Costa Rica said that the first group of 200 deportees from the U.S. will land in the capital of San Jose today. It remains unclear how many of them are Indian nationals. After landing in Costa Rica, the deportees will be transferred to a temporary migrant care facility where a lengthy verification process will be conducted. Following this, the individuals will be repatriated to their respective countries of origin. The US-funded repatriation process is being supervised by the International Organization for Migration, or the IOM. The UN migration body will oversee the migrants' care during their stay in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is only the latest in the region set to serve as a transit nation for Indian deportees from the US. Previously, Panama, El Salvador, as well as Guatemala had agreed to do the same. Now, the expedited deportation of Indian illegal immigrants, among others, follows recent high-level talks between New Delhi and Washington, D.C. So far, 3 batches of deportees comprising of 332 Indians have landed in India. In a sign of continuing deportations of such kind, last week, standing beside the US President Donald Trump, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that New Delhi is prepared to take back verified Indian deportees.
हम इस मत के हैं कि गैर कानूनी तरीके से जो लोग दूसरे देशों में होते हैं उनको वहाँ रहने का कोई कानूनी अधिकार तो है नहीं। जहाँ तक भारत और अमेरिका का सवाल है, हमने हमेशा कहा है कि जो वेरीफाइड होगा, कि जो सच्चे अर्थ में भारत का ही नागरिक होगा, वो अगर अमेरिका में गैर कानूनी तरीके से रहता है तो उसको वापस लेने के लिए भारत तैयार है।
To skip the time-consuming verification process of the deportees, the United States is now sending the illegal immigrants to third countries such as Costa Rica. With the escalating deportation drive, Indians who chose to enter the U.S. illegally are finding themselves on deportation flights. But before that, a lengthy stay in detention centers to confirm their credentials is also taking place. For many undocumented immigrants in the Americas right now, it indeed is a long way back home. And our final story is from Australia. It looks like US President Donald Trump's effect has caught on even down under. Taking notes from Trump's billionaire-turned-president journey, an Australian billionaire has launched his own party, trying to follow Donald Trump's political playbook. The Australian billionaire Clive Palmer launched his party earlier today. This comes as the country prepares for its nationwide federal election in May. Palmer's new party is called the Trumpet of Patriots, and the mining magnate has assured Australians that just like Trump, he too will drain the swamp, which is a reference to Trump's plans to drastically cut the size of the government. Addressing the media in Australia's capital of Canberra, here's what Palmer said at the launch of the Trumpet of Patriots party.
Trumpet of Patriots will stand candidates in the House of Reps and the Senate at this election. The party believes in the policies of Donald Trump, which has shown to be effective in bringing management back on track. Peter Dutton has stated that he's no Donald Trump, and we agree with him. Albanese's presided over a declining standard of living for our country in each and every year he served as Prime Minister. Australia needs Trump policies. Australians want them.
Palmer says that his political ideology and policies are going to be similar to Donald Trump's. These include declaring that Australia will only recognise 2 genders, male and female, a crackdown on mass immigration, creating an Australia for Australians, and making Australia great again.
Too much immigration destroys our infrastructure, roads, schools and hospitals, and creates congestion and the destruction of communities. Australia should be for all Australians living here. Trumpet of Patriots will put Australians first and make Australia great again.
Palmer has also refused to work with other parties and says he is confident that replicating Trump's policies will boost his party to victory.
I think Donald Trump's been very effective in reducing public expenditure. We don't want another coalition government that does nothing. We remember Scott Morrison, the man with 7 portfolios, and we remember the centralisation of power. When I was in this parliament, I remember how difficult it was to get anything done for the Australian people.
So, who is Clive Palmer? And will he be the disruptor in Australia's political landscape? Clive Palmer is Australia's 18th richest person with a net worth of over $4 billion. He previously led the United Australia Party and was a lawmaker in the lower house from 2013 to 2016. The 70-year-old billionaire has 4 children from 2 wives. He is a mining tycoon and receives royalties from iron and nickel mines. And now he is doing a Donald Trump by trying to be the next populist leader in Australia. However, Palmer has been repeatedly accused of improper fund transfers before the 2013 general election and fraud and dishonest business practices. But that's not going to stop him because he idolizes Trump. The US president is himself a convicted felon, the first in America, and still has multiple cases pending against him. So if there's one thing Clive Palmer is taking away from Donald Trump, is that being bold and putting the country first will get you the votes. And once you're in power, the rest is history. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on First Post.